In just a few short hours, Neuvillette will be getting his, is it his first rerun banner? And I just wanted to go over whether or not Neuvillette is actually still worth pulling for in update 4.5. I'm so lost on the patches now. But yeah, I just wanted to touch upon whether he is still worth pulling for if you are so inclined. Or if you're wondering, oh, maybe he's been, you know, outclassed a little bit. To cut a longish video short, yes, he is. He's still very, very good. He is an insane damage dealer that requires very little efforts to play, and even played suboptimally, he is incredibly good. And his weapon is insane if you want to take the risk on pulling for it. But Neuvillette as a whole is just an absolutely insane hydro DPS. Now, admittedly, he might not be everyone's cup of tea. For instance, his gameplay is literally just charge attacks. This is all he does. We have this. Spin. It does about 6 ticks, I think it is, of damage. And that is literally it. His E brings up some orbs. You suck up the orbs, your charge attack becomes faster. Same with the ult. The ult does a fair chunk of damage, I'll give him that. But you also get 2 charges of this completely for free. So you do this, some orbs show up, you hold left click, and then stuff dies. You know, when it's not stuck in the ground. So yeah, you press E, you hold left, stuff dies. He's insanely good. He is one of the few characters in the game where a lot of the time you don't even, if you're, especially in the overworld, you don't need anyone else on the team, which is great for dailies, especially on mobile. If you're doing your dailies on mobile and you need someone to just make things easy that requires no brain whatsoever, Neuvillette is absolutely perfect. Looking at the character myself, he's not built perfectly. He does have a fair amount of crit damage and not a great amount of crit rate. His max HP could be better. Typically, I do have the Tome of the Eternal Flow, which I got very lucky with acquiring, and that does make his stats a fair bit better. So he's almost 300 crit damage, but he is just insanely good even without it. So for instance, honestly, just having a crit damage percentage catalyst is just fine. So something like the Widsith does the job. In terms of artifacts, the Marachuse Hunter is literally designed for him. Normal and charge attack damage, 15% increase. When current HP increases or decreases, crit rate will be increased by 12% for 5 seconds, max of 3 stacks. So his crit rate goes up to 36% with this set, which with his current stats would be 51, if I'm doing the math correctly on that one. With the Tome of the Eternal Flow, 280 something crit damage, 51% crit rate, about 6 ticks of damage per blast of his charge attack. He's doing a lot of damage, and mine isn't even particularly built super well. So we have this. I got pretty lucky with these two, I'm not going to lie. This one's okay. It does the job. A bit too much elemental mastery for my liking. This one is really bad. It needs replacing. I might even have a better replacement at this point. I've not updated my Neuvillette since I got him. Hydro damage. This is... It's not even crit damage on here. And then this is also not great. So he has a ton of energy recharge when he doesn't necessarily need that much. But yeah, he's not particularly built well, but his damage output is insane regardless of how well he's being built. He is Constellation 0, he is C0. His Constellations, as far as I can tell, they're pretty good. His C6 allows him to constantly use his charge attack, because every time you pick up an orb, I think it increases how long you do it for by an extra second or so. I've seen gameplay of it. I'm very jealous. I will never get it, because that's a lot of money for one character, but I can see why people would want to C6 him. He's insane. In terms of talents, I have maxed him out. Obviously, you need his basic and charge attack is obviously his most important. Then his E and his ultimate you can sort of do around the same level. It's not that big a deal. But charge attack obviously is the one you want to be focusing on. So in terms of his passives, which I completely forgot to go over, you don't have to take them into consideration, but obviously ignoring them will mitigate a fair amount of damage. But the way Neuvillette works is, as long as you do 3 separate reactions with Hydro, you will get the most possible damage out of him. So if you do Vaporize, Frozen, Electrocharge, Bloom, Hydro Swirl, or Hydro Crystallize reaction on opponents, you'll gain a stack of past Draconic Glories. And then depending on how many of them you have, you'll do 110%, 125%, 160%. So optimally, you're doing 3 different reactions which involve Hydro. This little symbol will pop up above his head, and then you will deal more damage, essentially. It's really strong. I actively don't do it because his damage is already pretty insane, but if you want to min-max his damage, this is what you want to be doing. So that's 1 stack of his Draconic, whatchamacallit. That's 2, and then, okay, being stuck, and then that's 3. And now, as a result, the damage will be higher than it would be otherwise. Then, of course, this is pretty simple. As long as you have a decent amount of HP, you deal more Hydro damage. There's not really much else to say. And then this one is just, you know, it's just a standard travel passive. But when you're underwater, your sprint speed is faster. So it's a nice little bonus if you're still exploring Fontaine. In terms of potential, Neuvillette is absolutely bonkers. I have him in a couple of different teams. One of them is this one right here. This is my Gardener Hyperbloom setup. This did used to have Tartaglia, and then Neuvillette came and Neuvillette kind of stole his spot. I'm very sorry, Tartaglia. So yeah, he works great in Hyperbloom, Vaporize, Melt. He's Hydro. Hydro's so convenient, it fits into any slot pretty much. You can put him in pretty much anything. I've also tried him in a reaction team where it was like Beidou, Zhangling, Kaya, where it was literally just the whole point was just to do explosive reactions all the time, and it was a lot of fun. As you've seen, he'll do like 15k, 20k damage per tick as long as your crit, you know, goes off properly. And that's with the Widsith. I still have the Widsith equipped. I don't have his Tome of Eternal Flow on because obviously not everyone is going to have a 5-star weapon. It's the nature of the beast. 5-star weapons aren't always the easiest to acquire, and they require far too much effort at the best of times. Even with as little investment as just the Widsith, you know, 666 and a half decent party behind him, Neuvillette's incredibly strong, and he's going to be for, honestly, I think quite a long time. His damage output is insane, and you can look for other videos online where they have gameplay of just how much damage they can do. Like, there's plenty of videos of people just casually going through Spiral Abyss with just E6 Neuvillette and no one else on the team. His damage output is insane and requires, honestly, not that much investment to begin with. Yes, mine is at 10, 10, 10 and with Tome of the Eternal Flow, but that's only because I really like the character and I wanted to get the most out of his damage. And now I do, and as you had seen from the artifacts, they're pretty abysmal, so I can't really complain. So to answer the question, should you pull the Neuvillette if you're thinking about it? If you find this laser beam fun, you absolutely should. The only caveat I will say is, like someone like Gonyu, if you don't like that particular playstyle, there's not much you can do about it. Neuvillette, his entire gameplay philosophy is literally that laser and that laser alone. His E is good, his Q is good, his basic attack is not. It's not even like that satisfying to pull off, to be honest. Literally his entire gameplay is this laser and getting it as often and as quickly as he possibly can and dealing a ton of damage. DPS wise, phenomenal DPS. In terms of how to use simply, also very easy to use. But like Gonyu, he's definitely a character I don't see everyone enjoying, which is fair. Some people don't like characters that are as simple to play as Neuvillette. But if you're looking for a Hydro DPS or just a DPS that does an insane amount of damage with very little effort, Neuvillette is definitely for you. So in terms of should you pull, if you like the look of the gameplay and you want to do an insane amount of damage, the answer is a very easy and very simple yes. Yes, you should. And with that, I've answered the question, so I shall say my goodbyes. Thank you for those that stuck around to the end. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. What do you think about Neuvillette? Are you going to be pulling him on the upcoming patch? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for those that stuck around to the end. I've been James, the Mayor of Jamestown, and until next time, goodbye.